Welcome to Career Explorer, a series for you to learn more about possible career paths. I'm Tori Waber, and I'm a career and leadership coach. And I started this series so that folks could get a sense for the breadth of available career paths and expand their horizons on what career paths are possible. If you're curious about my career journey and coaching programs, you can check out the links below. And be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos. Today, we'll be speaking with Dr. Fangfang Tan about her role as a data science manager at LinkedIn. Welcome, Fangfang.
Thank you so much, Tori, for having me here today and to share my career journey with you all. I'm not representing my company, so all the points I'm sharing today are my own.
Awesome. Well, so a few logistics for anyone watching. We're going to do this as a series of videos on specific topics. And so we'll dive into one area and you can watch the whole playlist if you'd like to get a full sense of Fangfang's role and how she got there, or you can pick and choose the topics that work for you as a viewer. So to get started, Fangfang, we're going to hear a little bit about your career journey. And where we'll start is with a question. When you were 10 years old, would you have pictured that you'd be doing what you do now?
Wow, such an interesting question to get started. I would say definitely not. I don't think the world data science is even invented at the time. So when I was a 10-year-old, I would say a dream of myself of being a novel writer. I love reading a lot of storybooks at that time and made up all sorts of funky stories. But I would say still today, I tell a lot of data stories, but mostly driven by data and insights.
Nice.
So I think that kind of says there are similarities.
Yeah, the data science role may not even have existed, but that, passion for data or interest there may have been there.
Exactly.
And so how about 5 years ago? Would you have pictured yourself being where you are now?
5 years ago, that will be back in 2016, during the time I was at Facebook as a ads measurement researcher. Actually, I really loved my first tech job at that company after transitioning from academia. And I thought to myself, this is already my dream job. And I would like to stay as long as I can. So no, I did not vision at all that, the place I'm currently now.
Fascinating. Well, and so you mentioned ads measurement research. You mentioned your current role at LinkedIn. How many different jobs have you had?
I would say 5 in total, including 3 jobs in academia and 3 in tech. So I graduated from Tilburg University in the Netherlands with a PhD in economics. And then after that, I worked at the Max Planck Institute as a senior research fellow for 3 years. And then after that, UC Santa Cruz as a research associate at their lab, econ, and then move over to Facebook, hop onto Google, and now landed on LinkedIn.
Wow. Tell me about that jump from academics to industry. That's a big one. What was that like for you?
Certainly, that's a big change. It's purely motivated by personal and family reasons. I met with my husband, who is now a software engineer in the Silicon Valley. So it's just easier for me to transition my career from tech to academia than for him to find some jobs in a non-English speaking country in Germany. So that's an easier decision. But the transition itself took about 2 years end to end, because what I realized, from academia as a researcher in economics, running laboratory experiments, all the way to data scientists in the tech company, focusing on advertisement as well as cloud B2B business. There is a lot of gaps, both in terms of technical aspects of it as well as the business domain. So I took quite a number of like online courses on Coursera at that time, and talked to a lot of friends who are working in tech sector to identify my fit there.
Nice. Well, and so you mentioned there are a lot of different areas of work to transition in moving from that PhD. Your PhD was in economics, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I, in particular, in behavioral and experimental economics.
Oh, fascinating. How much of that do you use in your day-to-day job now?
Again, that's a great question. I would say the area that my PhD education benefited mostly from will be the use of methodology. So I would say the design of the experiment, as well as causal inference techniques to create this like counterfactual baseline, so that you can compare whatever effectiveness of a program or product launch. That is really useful, tremendously useful in my current tech job. Apart from that, I would say soft skills in terms of like presentation, as well as the skill of like self-learning, right? Quickly ramp up on a topic that you are not familiar with, and the ability to write it in a way that is like consumable, easy to understand to stakeholders. This, really pays off long dividends. Yeah. I wrote 10 academic papers and review like more than 50 papers like in the past 8 years of my academic journey, enabled to kind of like say land me where I am currently.
And so it sounds like a lot of the methods and skills that you had in your PhD have helped you, even though now you're in a different sort of product or business space and environment where you leverage those skills and techniques.
Exactly. And one thing I would like to add more though is that at least in LinkedIn, there is like stronger desire to hire candidates with economics background, simply because the thinking of economics is very useful in the way how we think of like jobs marketplace design, pricing strategies, and incentives, behavioral incentives in particular, to encourage and nudge consumer behavior. Those are pretty much, tightly tying to the concept of economics. So, for those who are interested in seeking a path along this journey, definitely let me know.
Yeah, well, in that behavioral economics, content area, hugely valuable for a place like LinkedIn. And so I'm curious, we'll dive a little bit more into the details of your role in the next video, but tell me a little bit about what it means to be a data science manager at LinkedIn.
I'm currently leading the LinkedIn Talent Solution go-to-market data science team, which is a size of 12 team members, including a manager reporting directly to me. And I joined LinkedIn for about 2 years now. So my team runs a lot of machine learning models, A/B tests, like causal analysis, strategic strategies in order to help business acquire and retain customers, as well as deepening customer values through meaningful engagement and relevant product upsell.
Nice. That's a lot of different scope within your team, sounds like.
Yeah, certainly growing bigger over time.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, if you were to teleport back to yourself as a PhD economist, or anyone else who's thinking about moving into this sort of data science manager role, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, this is such a great question. I would highlight 2 aspects of it. The first one is curiosity is key during, like, say, your exploration journey. Never shut down any path that you think that is impossible, that you think you don't see a fit at all. So there is a very popular saying during the time I was starting as a PhD student, that best of best will just straight into academia, staying there as a professor in the top tier university. Second best will enter government, do government jobs, and the bottom tier enter the private sector. I really like to challenge this type of thoughts simply because it's different type of impact you are making. Essentially, it's hard to compare apples to apples, right? Like those who wrote academic papers and get thousands of citations versus you build an app and inform sort of like say data-driven decision making that benefits millions of users out there, right? So just keep up your curiosity, learn more about internship during your PhD or just an early job seeking phase. Talk to the people who are currently in those roles. What makes them most satisfying versus not liking that role, so that you can have a better view. And then the second advice will be taking risks and tolerating, like just being comfortable at the uncertainty ahead of you. I'm recently reading a really enlightening book called Choosing Possibilities by Shikinder Cassidy. And I think some of the advice really echoes my career seeking journey. Basically, the key idea of that book is that your career choice is not like 0-1 or hit or miss that leads you to just glorious victory in your career or just really complete defeat. So they shouldn't have that view, but just you take smaller steps towards your cumulative success. So when I got my LinkedIn offers back 2 years back, when I was TLM, tech lead manager at Google Cloud Marketing Analytics, I really hesitated to join because jumping from leading a super small team in a domain that, like say, I was familiar with at Google to a complete new business area with a much larger team and a new domain sounds pretty daunting at that time. So I didn't convince myself that I should lean forward until one day I saw a picture of a sign. Actually, it's a very popular slogan in Facebook campus that says, what would you do if you're not afraid? And then I told myself, oh yeah, what's the thing that I can lose, right? Without taking up that position. So fast forward, 2 years, here I am. I didn't regret that I make the move at that time. I learned tons of valuable experiences by leading, by growing my team, my talents in an area that I was really passionate about. So there's absolute just no regret in my career choice, and I would like to encourage you to also train yourself to be a little bit more risk taking.
Yeah, well, it sounds like that curiosity and almost following that into something where you're not really sure what the other side is going to be. You only can take on those new opportunities by taking those risks. And so you've definitely shown some courage in being willing to jump into those areas that feel like they're at the edge of your comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. And this opportunity will also continue be showing up as your career journey advances and your network gets expanded for sure.
Yeah, the curiosity on available paths. And I liked what you're saying about careers not being 0 or 1, the potential to keep learning things and keep having these risk-taking opportunities doesn't end after one career choice, right? It's a continuous process of optimization and learning and decision making.
Exactly. You always learn new things when you look at things from a different angle as well. That experience itself builds up your resilience.
+1. Well, and so in our next video, we'll talk a little bit more about the day-to-day of your role, just so folks can get a sense of that. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. See you in a sec.